I'm Mallory Glenb and I'll be teaching limits. So a limit equation is written as the limit as x approaches c of f of x, and it can only be answered when the limit of the left side is equal to the limit of the right side. So in order to solve the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared plus 1, you have to know the left and the right side equations. So the limit as x approaches 0 from the left of x squared plus 1 is equal to 1. And the limit as x approaches 0 from the right of x squared plus 1 is also equal to 1. So since the left side equals the right side, then you know that the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared plus 1 is 1. And if the left side and the right side are not the same as this example shows, then the limit as x approaches the given number, in this case it's 0 of x squared plus 1, does not exist because the left side is 2 and the right side is 0. Limits will never be undefined. If there is no possible answer, the answer does not exist. So there are different ways that you can find the limit. One is using the identity function rule, which says that the limit of x as x approaches c of x is c. So an example of this is the limit as x approaches 5 of x is 5. You could also use the constant multiple rule, which states the limit as x approaches c of k, which would be your constant of f of x, equals k, your constant, times the limit as x approaches c of f of x. An example would be this. The limit as x approaches 5 of 2x is equal to 2 times the limit as x approaches 5. And you would use the identity function rule, which says that the limit of as x approaches c of x is c. So you would plug in 5 for the x, so you would have the answer would be 2 times 5, which would be 10. You would also use the sum rule. The sum rule states that the limit of as x approaches c of f of x plus g of x is equal to the limit as x approaches c of f of x plus the limit as x approaches c of g of x. So you're basically splitting them up and both giving them limit functions. So an example would be the limit as x approaches 2 of x plus 2 is equal to the limit as x approaches 2 of x plus the limit as x approaches 2 of 2. And your answer would be 2 plus 2, which equals 4. You could also use the difference rule, which states the limit as x approaches c of f of x minus g of x equals the limit as x approaches c of f of x minus the limit as x approaches c of g of x. So it's the same as the sum rule, except you're using subtraction instead of addition. So an example would be the limit of x as x approaches 1, or the limit of as x approaches 1 of x minus 5 is equal to the limit as x approaches 1 of x minus the limit as x approaches 1 of 5, which would equal 1 minus 5, which is negative 4. You could also use the product rule, which states the limit as x approaches c of f of x times g of x is equal to the limit as x approaches c of f of x times the limit as x approaches c of g of x. An example would be the limit as x approaches pi over 2 x cosine of x. And this is equal to the limit as x approaches pi over 2 of x times the limit as x approaches pi over 2 of cosine x. The quotient rule states that the limit as x approaches c of f of x over g of x is equal to the limit as x approaches c of f of x, all divided by the limit as x approaches c of g of x. And in this case, the limit as x approaches c of g of x cannot be equal to 0 since it's in the denominator. An example of this would be the limit as x approaches 1 of x over 2. You would write this as the limit as x approaches 1 of x divided by the limit as x approaches 1 of 2, and you get an answer of 1/2. Lastly, you could use the exponent or power rule. This states that the limit as x approaches c of f of x all raised to r over s is equal to the limit as x approaches c of f of x all within parentheses raised to r over s. In this case, r over s must be in the lowest term, and s, since it's in the denominator of this fraction, cannot equal 0. An example of this would be the limit as x approaches 8 of the square root of x cubed. You would write this as the limit as x approaches 8 of x to the 3 over 2, since that's what 1 cubed would be raised to a power. And you would take this away from the x and put the entire equation in parentheses and raise the entire thing to 3 over 2.